Good evening, everyone. Welcome into this week's all-new edition of the Milford Informer. I am your host, Tim Coet. We've got a lot to get to on the show this evening, including a second straight appearance here on the Informer by Milford Superintendent Dr. Kevin McIntyre. Let's give you a full look at what's on tap for tonight in our top stories rundown. Tonight, we'll share the latest installment of our Claflin Hill Musician Profile series, featuring percussionist Dan Ferreira. Also tonight, we'll show you this month's Superintendent Update, where Dr. Kevin McIntyre and his guests will discuss a new education foundation here in Milford. And later in sports, we will take a look back on a pair of tough Hockomock League crossover games for both the Milford boys and girls basketball teams. Before we get into this month's Superintendent Update, we are so pleased to present the latest installment of our Claflin Hill Musician Profile series. Tonight we feature another member of Claflin's percussion section. You've enjoyed his work during Claflin's annual holiday performance of Still Knocked. Let's get to know more about percussionist Dan Ferreira.
I started playing drums and percussion when I was in second grade. I came from a very musical family. My father played the trumpet. He was always going out to gigs and playing all the time. And I had the pleasure of just kind of following him around. And from that, I became interested in it. So I started playing drums in second grade. I took some private lessons, and then I actually joined a fife and drum corps. Within there, I played the snare drum. I got to wear the knickers and the stockings and all sorts of fun outfits, but yeah, it was an interesting experience. It was based out of actually Norton, Massachusetts, and I did that in second and third grade. When I was growing up, I did spend some time doing some piano and just kind of tinkering around with a lot of the other instruments, but I really fell in love with the drums and percussion and really just kind of stuck to what I did with that. When I was in high school, I really kind of struggled to fit in a little bit. I was a normal student. I did some honors classes, some regular classes. I actually played hockey, so I was involved with athletics, and I was involved with the band and my music. I didn't really have that many friends, but I also didn't really have any enemies. I was just kind of always there, and I really kind of struggled to fit in. One day, I decided to go out for my high school musical, and then from there, my life really just kind of changed. Also, my senior year, we did a talent show in high school, and I'll never forget, for my talent, I decided to play the drums, do some different stick tricks, and actually tap dance because I had done some dancing as I was growing up, and I know I was very afraid of doing it, and almost to the point where I almost backed down and didn't go through with it. I was just very worried about my peers and what the rest of them would think of me. When I was a senior in high school, I actually had two different lives sort of planned out. One of them, I was very heavily involved into sciences, and I was actually going to go to a Mass Maritime University and major in environmental protection and safety. And then all of a sudden, like I said before, I got involved with my high school musical, and I just really got bitten by the love for the arts and decided that that's what I wanted to do with my life. For my bachelor's degree, I went to the UMass Amherst. I was able to study under some very phenomenal, awesome teachers from Mr. George Parks with the marching band, Tom Hannum with the marching percussion section. My first years, I was very involved with them. We get to go all over the place and do so many wonderful things, and I'll always treasure those years there for that. After those 2 years, I met up with a great friend, Cindy Snow, and I started to teach her students at Shepherd Hill. I was in charge of some of her percussion section, and then that really kind of got me going into my education career. Also at UMass, under Tom Hannum, Tom helped design a mallet line for Vic Firth Sticks and Mallets. And we had the pleasure of shooting a promo video for them. It was back in the day before their website had mini videos that they had put up. It was actually one of the first videos that they did. And I remember when I first started teaching, a lot of people knew me as the xylophone guy because they remembered seeing me on that video. which was really cool. And again, that was a great experience. As I look back with the friends that I made at UMass and my teachers, I definitely wouldn't trade that for the world, what I did there. I am a music teacher at Milford Public Schools. I teach grades 7 through 12, band, general music, marching band, jazz band, percussion ensemble, all that stuff. So it is a little hard to balance that, family life, and my professional playing. I've been very lucky to get hooked up with Paul Serpine, the director of Claflin Hill. I've been playing with them for 10 years, and I always look forward to performing with them. Paul is a wonderful leader. He can be a little bit intense at times, but his dedication to his craft and what he does is phenomenal. He holds himself and everyone to the highest of standards. And every concert we put on is always very top-notch, comparable to any symphony, honestly, in the country. It's a little hidden gem in Milford that really could stand up against pretty much anyone. Probably my favorite moment with Claflin Hill is always the Winter Holiday Pops concert. Every year I've been lucky enough to play the bell solo for our version of Silent Night by the Mannheim Steamroller Orchestra, and it's always a very reflective moment. The lights dim down and we get a chance to just think about the year that we had. And in life, I feel like a lot of times we tend to miss actual moments just because we're so busy, whether it's we're hooked onto our phone, our technology, always on to the next thing. But that moment is just a few minutes of just appreciating silence, being with each other, being in that room, and it's truly a wonderful arrangement, and it's always done incredibly well. I would invite you to come check it out next year at our Holiday Pops concert. The percussion section at Claflin is truly a special section. Sometimes we can get ourselves into trouble because we don't always have the most exciting part, so every once in a while we get a little distracted. But we certainly do have a whole lot of fun. Everybody brings something different to the table. They're just great people, wonderful musicians, and above all, we're our own little family. And we really take care of each other. We like to share responsibilities and parts so everybody gets a chance, which really makes it more of a community and just a whole lot of fun to play with each other. We actually like each other so much that we've been playing together. We formed our own little percussion group that we do some concerts at schools and a few other things like that. And we titled it the MBD Percussion Group, which stands for My Bud's Drum, which really just sums up what we do. It's always a lot of fun to be able to get together, work on some music, and stay current with our field and repertoire. At home, I have a lovely wife and two wonderful kids. One of my probably favorite experiences with my kids is every time I get to play and they get to come see me. It really is a great moment to be able to look out into the audience and see both of my kids' reactions to some of the stuff going on, whether it's a concert, a performance, or a musical. They get to see people singing and dancing. So it's always great to see the show through their eyes from where I am. I do feel like my kids really enjoy music and the arts. My daughter is pretty involved with dance. She always talks about how she wants to be a ballet teacher someday. And my son loves to be the music man, and every time I have gear laying around the house, they always seem to find it and play it all the time. And so we have a lot of fun at home. When I was in high school, I really kind of struggled to find my place and to fit in. I feel like in a lot of ways I've sort of come full circle. In my band room at Millbury High School, I have a giant mural of a giraffe. That giraffe, his name is Gerald. He comes from a little kid's book, Giraffes Can't Dance. Happens to be my favorite book. I like to read it to my students all the time. And in this book, the character Gerald, he just struggles to fit in. He goes to the jungle dance, he doesn't know how to dance, all the other animals make fun of him. And really, he just has a hard time dealing with life, coping, and finding his way until he manages to go off and find a cricket, which teaches him to believe in himself and to not worry what other people think. In a lot of ways, I feel like I'm Gerald. I was Gerald. I feel like a lot of the students in today's schools are Gerald. where a lot of kids really struggle to fit in and find what it is that makes them them. I was lucky enough to find my cricket, and my cricket was all my music teachers growing up, whether it was my private studio teachers when I started in 2nd grade, through my teachers in middle school, Mr. LaFave, my high school teacher, Mr. Glass, all the way through my college years and all the wonderful professors and teachers I had there. They really taught me to believe in myself and to just be me and not worry what the world thinks, and really it helped me to come out of my shell. And I have that mural up over my door so that every time myself and my students leave my room, we're all reminded of that story, and just to believe in yourself and be yourself and don't worry what the world thinks of you.
Now on to our superintendent update. This month, Dr. Kevin McIntyre welcomed in 2 teachers from the Milford schools who are working hard to develop a new educational foundation here in Milford. Let's turn things over to Dr. McIntyre for more details.
Hello Hawk Nation, this is Kevin McIntyre, Superintendent of Schools here in Milford. Today I have 2 very special guests, Vinnie Kizo and Christina Cody. Both are teachers at Memorial Elementary School and are working with others in the community to launch an education foundation. What is the Milford, Massachusetts Foundation for Education?
So we established this foundation in a way to give back to Milford. So Milford already has some really great educational opportunities for our students. So we wanted to find a way where we could bring the entire community together and take advantage of all the resources out there to best serve our students.
What are your goals for the foundation?
So we've considered many different approaches to when we first started forming this organization. Our ultimate goal is to find new and additional ways to support Milford students. There are already many organizations like PTOs, school councils, and our goal is not necessarily to replace the work that they do, but we maybe, I guess, more supplement what they do, find other sources of income or other ways of funding opportunities for their programs or bring in new programs as well.
And how can the community support those efforts?
So we are working with other members in the community with a board, and we're hoping to offer fundraisers and different events like that. But if members of the community like to make donations, we provide opportunities
So
for them to support us.
Right, on our website you can make donations online through PayPal.
And what is that website?
So the website is www.mmffe.org.
And can you say that one more time?
Yep, www.mmffe.org. And through that website, people can donate online using PayPal. There's a link right on the website. We're also seeking out business sponsorships, and there's more information on the website for that if that's something that's of interest. And we're certainly open to any other creative ways members of the community would be willing to lend their support. They can reach out to us. Our contact information is right on the website. We will be holding an informational meeting for any members of the public that are interested in learning more about what we plan to do, what we're already doing, and how they can get involved. That will be on Wednesday,
February 28th.
February 28th, and that'll be at the high school at
6:30.
6:30 in the library.
And Christina, could you tell me a little bit about the Community Impact Award that I saw on the website?
Sure. So our Community Impact Award is implemented so that we can highlight a member of the community who's really going above and beyond to make sure that the children and the students of our community are getting everything they need. So at the moment, we know we highlight teachers who are doing a great job, but there are so many other individuals in Milford that are doing great work that we'd really like to highlight them as well.
Great, fantastic. Anything else you'd like to add about the foundation that we haven't spoken about already?
Like I said, we appreciate all the support that we've gotten so far, and again, if anybody is interested in learning more, they can visit our website or they can come to that meeting on February 28th and learn more. And we are absolutely open to ideas. We expect to be held accountable to meeting the mission of our organization, and we can't do that alone.
Great, fantastic. So I want to thank Vinny and Christina for joining me and sharing information about this important undertaking. Look for more updates from them in the future and upcoming events sponsored by the Milford Education Foundation. Thank you, Hawk Nation.
Of course, everyone in town is still basking in the excitement of Kate Irwin's 1,000-point milestone. Despite all of the emotions swirling around the girls' team, they were able to get right back to business last Friday night on the road against Attleboro. The girls defeated the Lady Bombardiers by a final score of 46-38, and in so doing, the team officially punched their ticket to the MIAA tournament for a second consecutive season. So while the girls have continued to enjoy great success, the boys' team was hoping to steal some of the spotlight last Friday night as they played host to their Attleboro counterparts. Could Milford slow down one of the hottest offenses in the Hockomock League? Let's go to the highlights. The Milford boys once again saw their offense fail to get rolling in a 55-36 loss at Oliver Ames in their previous game. The Hawks would need a much better effort on the offensive side on this night if they hope to keep pace with the high-flying offense of the Attleboro Bombardiers. As it turned out, it would be the Hawks' offense that would come soaring out of the gates. Joey Everett would get it started for Milford by draining a quick three. Moments later, after a missed shot by Brendan White, Caden Kelly would battle down low for the rebound. After sending the pass back out to the point, eventually White would get another chance, this time from three-point range, and he'd come through to up the Milford lead. Next up, it was Brendan Saylor who would test his stroke from three-point range, and he would drain the shot. With Milford now up 9-4, watch the passing up the floor for the Hawks. 4 different players would touch the basketball, leading to another 3-ball from Brendan White. Milford would drain 4 threes in the first quarter, and they would come out of the opening 8 minutes enjoying an 18-7 lead. The Milford offense would quiet down a bit over the early minutes of the second quarter. Leading 23-10 with less than 4 minutes remaining in the half, the Hawks would go to work on the offensive glass. First, it's Steve Sutherland keeping the possession alive, and then White would get his hands on a rebound, and the junior captain would turn it into points, giving Milford their largest lead of the half. Attleboro would start to show signs of life in the closing minutes of the half. They would start to get more aggressive going to the basket, resulting in some good looks and 5 points from the free throw line. The Bombardiers would end up narrowing the gap to 11 points as the teams reached the half. Coming into the second half, Milford knew they couldn't afford to ease up on the pressure. Early on here, we see Brendan Saylor come up with the steal at midcourt. He takes the ball in for the score and would end up with a chance to make it 3. As the players lined up for the free throw, Attleboro would get called for a technical foul, and that would give Milford the chance to notch 3 easy points. But the Hawks would miss all 3 shots from the free throw line, keeping it a 13-point game. That missed opportunity would put a little doubt in the minds of the Milford players and would start to fuel the confidence of the Bombardiers. With 4.5 minutes left in the third, Attleboro would connect on a pair of free throws to cut the Milford lead down to single digits, and from there the remainder of the period would be virtually all Attleboro. First, it's Kevin Velasquez who puts home an easy look from three-point range. Then after a turnover, it's right back to Velasquez who gets ahead on the break and converts on a layup. Inside the 1-minute mark, Dom Victor would out-hustle both Caden Kelly and Brendan White under the basket, and his shot would cut it to a 1-point game. Attleboro would deal one last blow in the third quarter as Tim Callahan would knock down a 3. Attleboro would outscore Milford 22-9 in the third quarter to take their first lead since the opening minutes of the game. Attleboro would continue to showcase all of their offensive weapons as the fourth quarter got underway. First, it's the 6'5" sophomore Qualeem Charles with the rebound and a putback. And then it's the team scoring leader Bryant Sissio who would freeze Brendan White before releasing the shot that would place Attleboro in front by 5. Finally, after being held scoreless through much of the second half, Brendan White would collect a pair of free throws before making this move around Charles on his way to the hoop, striking for 4 quick points to pull Milford to within 1. Milford would twice cut the Attleboro lead to a single point down the stretch of the fourth quarter, but the Hawks simply could not slow down the Attleboro attack. The Bombardiers would eventually work the lead back up to 6, and then with 30 seconds to go, Dom Victor would seal the deal for Attleboro, going coast to coast and finishing with the slam dunk. It was a tale of two halves in this one. Attleboro would dominate the final 2 quarters, and they go on to earn their 9th victory of the year, defeating Milford by a final score of 59-51. After that home loss last Friday, the boys were then faced with another formidable opponent as they traveled to Mansfield to take on the Hornets on Tuesday. Milford's defense could not contain the Hornets, who launched 13 three-pointers over the course of the night. The Hawks tried to cut into Mansfield's lead with a strong third quarter, but the home team would outscore Milford 23-5 over the final 8 minutes, and the Hawks would go on to lose by a final score of 72-41. With the boys on the road Tuesday, that meant the girls were once again at home. With the Lady Hawks now in playoff preparation mode, they would face an excellent tournament test as they welcomed in the Mansfield Lady Hornets. The Lady Hawks already know they are heading back to the MIAA tournament. On Tuesday, the girls would get a taste of playoff caliber competition as they squared off against the top team from the Kelly Rex division in the Mansfield Lady Hornets. Mansfield has been a dominant defensive team throughout the season, holding many of the league's top scorers in check, and early on in this game, Milford would struggle to generate points. On the offensive side, Mansfield would showcase their 6'3" scoring star Meg Hill. Hill has been a dominant force down low, and she would end up grabbing the first 4 points of the night to give the Lady Hornets an early lead. With the Mansfield D locking down Kate Irwin through the early minutes, Milford would finally break through on the scoreboard about 3 minutes in, with Emily Pierre-Gustavo nailing a 3 from the far wing to cut the early deficit to 1. After Hill scored the first 6 Mansfield points of the game, it was the 5'11" Maggie Danahy who would go up and over Jess Tomaso, getting a nice bank off the glass. With Mansfield threatening to take an early stranglehold on the game, Juliana Tracy would step up, draining a big 3 to pump some life into the home team. Tracy would end up notching 5 points in what was a highly competitive first quarter. Mansfield would carry a 4-point advantage into the second quarter, but some key contributions off of their bench would give the Lady Hornets a quick boost. Erin Daniel would enter the game, and after grabbing her first points on a putback, she would get her hands in the passing lane to force a turnover, and Daniel would take it the other way to put Mansfield on a 4-0 run. With the Hornets again threatening to take over, Milford would come up with a response from 3-point range, this time courtesy of Kate Irwin. It would be Kate's first bucket of the night, coming with just under 6.5 to go in the second quarter. With just about 4 minutes to go in the half, Meg Hill would drop in another shot to establish a 5-point Mansfield lead, but Milford refused to let the Kelly Rex leaders intimidate them. Milford will keep testing their luck from 3-point range. Count it for Julie Rabinowitz. And now Pierre-Gustavo with the steal. Great footwork to stay in play. And sends the pass away to Kate Irwin. A chance for Milford to tie or take the lead. They take the lead with another 3-ball, this time for Emily Pierre-Gustavo. It would be a huge momentum boost and confidence boost for Milford if they could take the lead into halftime. And Valenzola contributing with another bucket. And away from the basketball, good movement for Kate Irwin. Milford would go on a 10-0 run and seemed to have Mansfield on the ropes, ticking down to the final seconds before the half. With just over 30 seconds to go, Kate Irwin would get locked up away from the ball with Mansfield's Maddie Bendanillo. Kate would get pushed hard to the ground with her head taking the brunt of the impact. After spending several tense moments on the floor, Kate would leave for the locker room under her own power, and Milford would finish off the half with one final 3-pointer from Emily Pierre-Gustavo, allowing the Lady Hawks to take a 30-22 lead. Kate would attempt to warm up with her teammates as they prepared to start the second half, but ultimately she would be unable to return for the remainder of the game. With Milford shaken after the injury to their senior captain, and Mansfield no longer forced to overcommit to the league's number 2 scorer, the second half took on a drastically different complexion. The Lady Hawks would be held completely off the scoreboard in the third quarter, and that would allow Mansfield to go on a 22-point run that turned an 8-point deficit into a 14-point lead. The Milford girls would continue to battle, producing 10 points in the fourth quarter, but they would be unable to complete a comeback. The injury to Kate Irwin would open the door to a 53-40 victory on the road for Mansfield over the Lady Hawks. That's going to wrap things up for this week. Of course, we have to say good luck to the New England Patriots as they take on Philadelphia in the big game this Sunday. Everyone enjoy the game and be safe out there. From all of us here at Milford TV, this is Tim Coette saying have a great week. So long, everybody.